Hey guys, it's Julian here with a full series look at Evangelion Rebuild series now that the final film is out. I mean, it took 8 years from the third to the fourth film, but we finally made it, so let's take a whole look at this entire Rebuild series today. Once again, a spoiler alert warning right now into effect. If you haven't seen the final film or haven't even seen the entire series, please go take a look at it for yourself, or if you don't, continue on with this review. But you have been warned. This is your warning. Let's move on. The series deals with a lot of dark topics, and for example, some of how one deals with depression, loneliness, and loss. These themes were also in the original TV anime, but have been amplified throughout this Rebuild series. They have a lot more details showing how Shinji progressed throughout the series and how it really affected him, and how he kind of resolves to kind of break out of it. Now, the third movie is the shortest running with 96 minutes of runtime, with then the fourth film being the longest in the series with a 155-minute runtime. Now, the runtimes were on average around the 115 mark, but these two films were the exception. The first film starts by following the original Evangelion plot, events happening more or less the same way, but by the second film, with the introduction of the new character Marie, things start to shift, kind of serving as a new alternate timeline. The pacing throughout the films is actually well done, giving us ample time to understand the progression throughout the story. But for me, it was around by the third film where there was this big time leap where things got a little shaky for me, because I didn't quite understand what was going on in that third film, how much had changed in that 14-year time gap. And it wasn't by the fourth film that I finally get an understanding as to how big that third impact really affected the world around them. And I get it, maybe they were both done simultaneously, that from the third film, the fourth film was supposed to immediately come out, but unfortunately we had that 8-year gap, so I was left kind of confused as to what went on in the world. Now let's talk endings. The endings of the Rebuild series I think is far better than both the TV series and the end of Evangelion movie, because it actually has a proper conclusion. The TV series kind of saw it kind of ending in a more philosophical kind of manner, and the end of Evangelion kind of took what the series had done, twisted it a bit, and gave it a very sour ending in my opinion. While the whole Rebuild series ended on a more softer note, where Shinji kind of roused up to the challenge and kind of changed the world, making it so that angels in Eva units didn't even exist, kind of resulting into our world, which resulted in what I think is one of the coolest cinematic shots done in an anime film, where it took a live action shot of real life and overlaid anime characters, layering them right on top of it. That, I think, was one of the coolest shots ever done. For an anime, at least. Again, there are probably tons of really cool film shots out there, but to me, that was very awe-inspiring. Basically, like I said, creating an alternate ending where the Evangelion series crosses over into our world. And again, they were more or less based off the same ideals and principles. But it was also really nice to see the mythology really have a much larger role to play in this series, making it much more comprehensive and understandable, making it easier to follow what Nerv was really trying to do. But again, the original has its style and is still going to be a classic, but the Rebuild on its own stands as its own individual, which I think people shouldn't just quite compare immediately to the original. I think it's its own storyline, even though the characters do share a lot of commonality. I think it's its own work and project and should be judged as such. That is because the original is a classic. It was done in a very old art style, while this one is done in a more modern uptake 3D effect. Not to say the old one, again, that style is not cool in its own way. Like I said, it's a classic. It's your mainstay anime, but I think this one has its own right in being on its own, in saying, look at the cool effects that it has and look at what it has to offer. The Rebuild series and the original, I think, are two fine pieces of work, and again, at the end of the day, have a lot to teach us in their philosophical teachings. Alright guys, let's take a look at Romance Corner at the entire Rebuild series. First up, we got Ryoji and Miss Misato. Now obviously we knew in the original that there was some chemistry between them, but I like their relationship in the Rebuild series, where Ryoji and Misato, again, didn't quite get as a couple, and they didn't even get married, but they did end up having a child together. Though Misato did not parent the child, technically the child really didn't even get to meet either one of its parents. To see them together and at least produce a child was still pretty nice, in my opinion. Now let's move on to our main guy Shinji, and he's got a lot of relationships throughout this series. Now let's start off with one we all know is Shinji and Asuka. Now while Asuka was never a big fan of Shinji, throughout the second film we did get to see a more softer side to her, and where she did care and potentially almost fall in love with him. But you know, spineless Shinji just can't do it for Asuka, so she ends up hating him throughout the entire film, telling him to get his ass in gear and giving him that tough love kind of spiel. So, nope, not gonna end up together. Then we got Shinji and Rei. Rei is such an interesting character because she is basically a failed clone experiment of Shinji's mother in trying to bring her back. And Rei has been programmed to kind of love and be attracted to Shinji, so their romance isn't quite there, but I understand their attraction. Now this one has been pointed out to me in the fourth film's review, though I didn't quite include it in that because Kaoru actually doesn't get too much screen time in the fourth film, but again, this is the series review, so let's take a look at Shinji and Kaoru. There is a budding bromance, almost borderline romance between the two characters. They are pretty incredible together, and Kaoru does do his best to get Shinji to open up and trust him and try to help him heal with his pain. Kaoru is a much more down-to-earth character, I believe, in this series adaptation, and it was just nice to see those two together. Unfortunately, it would only last the entire film, but nonetheless, Shinji did have a profound, or Kaoru had a profound impact on Shinji, lasting even into the fourth film. Now, I did speak about this one in my fourth film review, and I'm still pretty puzzled by it, but we got Shinji and Marie. And again, to me, this is such a puzzling one because Marie was a new character introduced and looked like she had no care for Shinji at all. But by the fourth film, she says that I will come back for you, and at that profound moment, it seemed like there was just something between the two of them. I mean, the ending does see those two together in the new world as if they had been long lost friends, or just had been long friends for a really long time. Again, the wording's terrible there, but they seemed pretty happy together, and whether or not it was a romantic, fun, or like childhood friend sort of deal, it did seem like there was something between the two of them. So if they really did end up together, I'll give it the seal of approval. Alright guys, it's time for the 3 reasons why you should be watching the Rebuild series. Number 1, it's a fresh look. Like I've said, the visuals are completely updated. It looks like a whole new, better Evangelion. You're going to love the visuals. It's still going to look and feel the same overall as a series, but the updated visuals, the updated art style really adds a really nice fresh coat of paint on this series. Number 2, it's nostalgic. Like I said, the original Evangelion is a classic, so for old fans of the series coming back to this, we get that sense of nostalgia coming back, and it's just a lot of fun to see these characters come back in a whole brand new alternate storyline. Number 3, it's a mainstay. So like I said as well, since it is a classic anime, Evangelion is going to be a mainstay within anime culture, and to see it kind of get that nice revival was really well worth it, and has once again thrusted it back into the forefront of the anime community. With this final film, I'm sure this is going to be once again added to a ton of new anime watchers' lists to watch. Goodbye, Evangelion. You are a treasured series, which I hope many will continue to enjoy. That about wraps it up for this full series review. be sure to take care, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. I can't believe he did the entire review without me. I'm gonna get the last laugh. I would have made it excellent Eva pilot. Not like Shinji, I would have had no hesitation and done some badass kicking of angel butt.